ESPN is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Things are brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you're with us here as we're working towards the weekend. Hopefully that work is in the rearview mirror for the week. If it's not, we will get you to the finish line. Preston Guy in 15 minutes talking football. Kind of at this point in the calendar, it's like, okay, what do you want to talk about with LSU football? And I want to talk about LSU's coaching staff. Want Preston's thoughts on it, kind of where things stand. There's a lot of continuity on that coaching staff outside of defensive line, so we'll chat with that with Preston about that. I do want to look at the rest of the SEC series that are coming up this weekend because it's really impactful for LSU, what goes on around the league, because LSU's right in the middle of a big old log jam. Andrew Hutchinson is going to join us at 2:15 to talk LSU and Arkansas. He covers the Hogs for Best of Arkansas Sports. And Derek Carr wants to play in week 1, so we'll talk about that in hour number 2 as well. We'll start things off the same way we start every single show. That's our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Let's talk LSU and Arkansas, shall we? We had Koki Riley on Wednesday, as we always do, and Koki, who does a great job covering the team for The Advocate, told us on Wednesday that he had a story coming out today, Friday, on LSU's ineptitude against left-handed pitching. And he tweets earlier today that against Texas A&M, LSU was 18 for 84 with 24 strikeouts against the Aggies. Against Tennessee, left-handed pitching, LSU was 3 for 36. Against Alabama, 7 for 39. All those really, really rough numbers. And since I knew Koki was going to write about that, I certainly wanted to read the story, which I did, and I invite you to do over at The Advocate today. But I also want to dig a little bit deeper myself individually into some left-handed pitching. And I'm putting all the cards on the table here. Like there's some cherry picking going on here by me, because if you put LSU's SEC numbers against left-handed pitching together, they're not quite as bad, because Missouri started 3 left-handed starters and LSU got after all of them. It was Ian Loesch. LSU scored 7 earned and 3 1/3. Will Libert, they scored 6 earned and 3 2/3. And then Caden Drew, LSU scored 4 earned runs in 2 innings against him. So that's 3 games where LSU handled left-handed starting pitching pretty easily. Cade Crossland pitched for Oklahoma, throws from the left side. LSU tagged him pretty good. 6 hits, 5 earned runs in 5 innings of work. So there's 4 starts right there. Left-handed pitchers, LSU did fine. But if you keep going, which I did, and I'll bring up some of these names, some that you'll probably remember. Like last weekend, you saw Ryan Prager, Justin Lampkin, and Miles Patton. And those guys tied you up pretty good. Prager went 7 innings of 1-run baseball. Against Tennessee, you saw Liam Doyle. You got 1 hit. He pitched into the 7th inning. Pico Khan of Mississippi State, you hit 2 home runs in 5 innings, but that was all the damage that you were able to do. He struck you out 8 times. You didn't walk. Cade Fisher has had a bad year at Auburn. Like, he was Florida's guy, and then he wasn't, and then he transferred to Auburn. He had a bad start to his year. And he pitched against LSU, and LSU scored 1 run in 5 innings on Cade Fisher. Zane Adams has had a bad year for the most part for Alabama. He was their Friday night guy to start. He pitched game 3 against LSU. He's been hit all over the yard. I mean, when he came to Baton Rouge, teams were hitting well over 300 in league play against him. And he went 5 innings of 1-run baseball against LSU. So if you take 7 pitchers, Prager, Lampkin, and Patton from A&M, Doyle from Tennessee, Kahn from Mississippi State, Fisher from Auburn, Adams from Alabama, like those guys are pitching to a sub-3 ERA against LSU. One game I haven't mentioned here was Jared Spencer, Texas's ace, before he went out for the year. He was the ace for the number 1 team in the country. LSU did a good job against him. In 5 innings, they got 7 hits and 4 earned runs. But there have been a lot of left-handers that have given LSU a lot of trouble. And tonight, you're going to see a really good one. Zach Root is tough. He is a transfer from East Carolina, where he was in their rotation last year. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. And you're going to see a real herky-jerky wind-up tonight from Zach Root. He gets into his wind-up. He pats the ball into his glove, and there's kind of knees and elbows flying a little bit. He hides the ball well. And he throws 92, which is not an elite-level fastball. But his changeup at 83 is so good that the fastball plays up. And those are his main two pitches. He will throw a big, huge breaking ball. It kind of looks like Jared Poche's, for those that remember. It's just got a ton of downward motion, and it's big and breaking. It's not a sharp, tight breaking ball. It's a big looper. And he'll throw that some, but it's mainly the fastball and the changeup, and you've just got to find a way to be on time. And Texas couldn't. He put Texas in a blender last week. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, no runs. It was really good. So these struggles that LSU has had a little bit with left-handed pitching are going to have to break free tonight. Like, there's no two ways about it. Because if what you saw against Liam Doyle and what you saw for the most part against Pico Khan and what you saw against Zane Adams and what you saw against Ryan Prager, if that comes back tonight, the results there are usually 0 or 1 run over 5, 6, 7 innings. And you're probably going to lose. Because as good as Cade Anderson is, I don't think he's going to hold Arkansas to 1 run tonight. Like, it'd be great if he does. I'd love it. But that's likely unrealistic against this Arkansas lineup. You're going to have to get to that threshold that we talked about yesterday, because it actually applies to Arkansas as well. It's like a 6-run threshold that you've got to get to. LSU, when they score 6 runs, is 31-1. And when LSU opponents score 5 or less, right there on that threshold, 5 to 6, LSU's 31-4. In Arkansas, while last weekend they looked like hell on wheels. I mean, they just embarrassed Texas. They haven't done that every weekend. They've done it some. They averaged 10 runs per game in Oxford and won 2 of 3. They averaged 11.5 runs per game against South Carolina and swept them. They averaged 17 runs per game against Missouri and swept them. They averaged almost 10 runs a game against Texas and swept them. But there were those 3 series prior to Texas where Arkansas didn't hit as much. A&M held them to 4-2 in the 2 wins that A&M got in Fayetteville. Florida held them to 4-5 in the 2 games that they won in Gainesville. Georgia, they got into a little bit of a slugfest, and Arkansas did average 8.3 runs per game in that series. But Georgia was able to win a game by scoring 13. They did hold Arkansas to 6 in the other 2. So it's LSU, I think, it would be naive to go into this series, in my opinion, as an LSU fan, thinking we've got Anderson, we've got Ianson. These 2 guys are as good a 1-2 as there is in the country, and we can hold Arkansas down to 2 or 3 runs and try to win 5-3. I just don't know if that's going to get it done this weekend. It might. It's baseball. Weird stuff happens. But LSU offensively is going to have to break out. Like, that's going to have to happen. I detailed back on Wednesday, LSU is scoring about 8.5 runs per game at home in SEC play. They're scoring 4 runs per game on the road. You're at home. Those 8s need to come out. And it's tough to do because Arkansas's got a lot of stuff. You'll see Root tonight. You can read my preview at LouisianaSports.net, and you're going to see Gage Wood tomorrow. And Gage Wood has some of the best stuff in the country. Gage Wood throws 98 miles an hour and has a vicious breaking ball. But Gage Wood is coming off of a shoulder issue, a shoulder impingement, as it was termed. I don't know what that is, but he had it. And he did not pitch between February 23rd and April the 17th. And so in his times coming back, he threw 20 pitches against A&M on the 18th of April, then 42 against Florida the next week, then 57 last week against Texas. And against Texas, he shut them. He gave up 1 run, a home run, in 4 innings of work, and he struck out 8. So it's wicked stuff, but he's not going 104 pitches. He's going to go, probably the target will be about 70. And LSU's goal on Saturday against Gage Wood is to make sure those 70 pitches only records like 11 outs. Make sure that they don't record 17 outs. Because when you get into the bullpen, maybe it can get a little bit easier. Now, it's probably going to be Gabe Gackle after Gage Wood. And you're going, well, who's Gabe Gackle? Gabe Gackle was their Friday night guy to start the season. It didn't work out as well. His numbers weren't very good. But he was an elite closer last year as a freshman, and his stuff is awesome. So they'll go with Wood as far as he can get him 70 pitches, and they're bringing Gackle in. And those two guys got through 7 innings last week against Texas. And that is their Saturday starter. I use air quotes. It's Wood into Gackle because Wood can't extend as far as a normal starter would at this point in the calendar coming off the shoulder impingement. So those first 3 arms that I'm mentioning, Root, Wood, Gackle, that's your task to start this thing. Probably Beidelshees on Sunday. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. He's a left-hander, not super talented. But they do have a lot of talent on the mound, and they got a lot of talent in the lineup. And LSU has that as well. I'll leave this early show segment because we got a lot more LSU and Arkansas to talk about later with this thought. And I sent this out on Twitter for those that follow. Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson over the last 2 weeks have been remarkable against Tennessee and Texas A&M. They have combined to throw 28 innings. They've allowed only 18 hits and 6 earned runs in those 28 innings. That's an ERA under 2. It's 1.93 in 28 innings. They've struck out 45 and allowed 11 walks. So when I say this, I'm not being hyperbolic. Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Arkansas are 3 of the top 5 lineups in college baseball. And you've already seen 2 of them and done what you've done. If those 2 guys show up this weekend and replicate anything like that, 6 innings, 2-run baseball, 7 innings, 3-run baseball, if they do that, there will be nothing moving forward that these guys truly haven't seen. I think the last frontier of this excursion would probably be trying to go to Foley Field and hold Georgia down in a juice box of a ballpark, but that's not on the schedule, so we're not doing that. But these 3 lineups in a row, those 2 pitchers, if they can give you what they had the last 2 weeks, tonight and tomorrow, you're talking about as proven a 1-2 punch as you could possibly have at this point in the calendar, and that's a huge, huge deal. This weekend is so freaking huge for both teams. If Arkansas comes in and wins 2 games this weekend, they have a national seed on ice. That's 19 wins, top 4 RPI. Put it to bed. If LSU wins 2 of 3 this weekend, that pushes LSU to 17 wins, and you got South Carolina, who has basically quit. And you feel like with wins over Tennessee and Arkansas, 17 league wins, at that point an RPI in the top 6, you're pretty much on ice. You've got to go not fall on your face, but you understand what I'm saying. This is as high stakes a regular season baseball as you can really get. You've got a team that has more national championships than anybody over the last 25 years, and a team that's won more college baseball games than anybody without a College World Series championship on the same field. It's LSU and it's Arkansas. It's Alec Box Stadium, one of the most historic venues and respected venues in the sport. It's Jay Johnson, national championship head coach, versus Dave Van Horn, Hall of Famer, who's chasing that first one. This is as good as it can get. I'm super bummed out about the weather as I sit here at 1:15 in the afternoon because I don't know how that's going to impact the schedule and the crowd and the environment and all that. And selfishly, I just want to see that. But the stakes are massive. The talent level is massive. It's awesome arms. It's elite bats. It's future pros. It's great defense. It's an awesome venue. This is why we sign up to do this. And I can't wait to get in the box tonight and see what we see whenever we see it, because these 2 left-handers are going to be pretty quick draft picks. They were both really, really good the last couple of weeks, and they've got a lot on their shoulders tonight facing a couple of good lineups. So big, big weekend coming up, and we're going to talk about it a ton over the next 2 hours. Our Friday show's brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll step aside, come back, talk some football. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I always talk about renovations and remodels, and that's what they do. And certainly they're not a repair company. But oftentimes there is an issue in your bathroom, especially if you've got an older house, that requires new installation. And what starts as what could be a repair, you realize needs to be a replacement, and maybe an opportunity to just spruce things up a little bit. Don't just call the handyman down the street and have him come over there and try to figure things out, run to the hardware store twice and see if he can get it done. Go with somebody that's licensed, bonded, and insured and has 30 years of doing this, and that's David Duvall and his team. If you've got a defective tub or shower that you think, it's had a good run, but we gotta get this replaced, David Duvall and his team can do that for you. They can customize it for you, make it look exactly the way that you want. Check out some of their work at OneBathAndClosets.com. It looks phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And I can promise you this, they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. That's David's promise to you. So start with that free consultation today with One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. Have David come in and have a conversation with you. It's One Bath and Closets online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday edition's brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. In the mood for a shrimp po' boy today for lunch? Get on by Corks. Government between Foster and Jefferson. They can always hook you up with those fantastic jumbo Gulf shrimp po' boy, crispy fried catfish, great shoestring fries as well. Check them out. corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. Good enough to stop by on Fridays and chat some football with us. Preston, how we doing?
All right, good. Nice of you to work a Friday this week.
I think I was just saying that. I think 3 weeks in a row I haven't been here. We had Good Friday, and then I was on vacation, and then I just went to Jazz Fest last week. So, yeah. It's been a minute.
I was here, you weren't, and we took care of business without you.
Yeah, I don't even know what y'all talked about, so I'm going to come up with some topics of my own. We've done a ton of talking about the roster, and I've seen a lot of very, very positive commentary from the national sports folks and analysts about LSU's roster composition for the year. I want to detour from that and talk about the coaching staff. What's your level right now of confidence in Brian Kelly and taking that next step with this group?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm in the jury still out category. Yeah. A lot of people really wanted to throw Brian Kelly under the bus for going 8-4 this year. And, getting a look behind the curtain that I've seen with LSU and this new era that we're in, I really attribute a lot of these struggles to, number one, inheriting a putrid roster when he got here. Now, I'm sure people are tired of hearing that. It's year 4. But I'm going to also give another attribution to it's a new era that we're in. And NIL and funds and money talks in a way that hasn't been quite so prevalent in the past. And I think that there was a real learning curve and adjustment period for this team and staff to figure out what they have to do to compete. And I really think they're trending in the right direction in that department. So I still believe that Brian Kelly is a good football coach. I believe he won a lot of games at Notre Dame for a reason, and I believe that Notre Dame is a place that has a ceiling, although there's certainly some question marks about whether or not that ceiling still exists for Notre Dame, given the NIL era and money being able to really, money is more important than geography nowadays when it comes to bringing players in. And I think LSU has better geography, but you have to question if the money is up there with Notre Dame. I think we're definitely getting closer this year, but I still have faith in the staff as a whole. And I guess that starts with Brian Kelly, and he does need to prove it. And he's running out of time before he has to prove it. They really need to put out something impressive soon.
How'd you feel about Joe Sloan's year 1 calling plays?
Yeah, it was a mixed bag. I think he had some rookie coordinator moments, but there were certainly some things I liked. I wish he would get a little more creative in the red zone. I'll stick with jury still out with him too, because last year that offensive line really struggled to run block, and balance really kind of goes out the window in a big way when you can't get consistently. You can't rely on your running game to get you 3 yards. That makes it really tough to call a good offense. I can't ignore the 4,000-yard passer, though. I can't ignore the issues that they had with the receivers and injuries that they had last year at that position, and still able to put up a passing offense the way they were able to at times. I'm gonna say that Joe Sloan could turn out to be something good. But they've got to he's got to show more consistency in the red zone with his play calling than he did last year.
As far as the running game goes, because that's really hard for LSU fans to kind of compartmentalize, with the 4 offensive linemen getting drafted, with Will Campbell going, 3rd overall, 4th overall.
Yeah.
The great pass protection, the poor run blocking. I'm curious how you contextualize that, and then whether or not you think the Alex Atkins addition can make a big impact.
Yeah. It is very frustrating, but I think that we saw last year the pass blocking was still elite.
Yeah.
And I think that across the line, 3 out of 4 of those guys weren't great in run blocking at all. And that includes Emory Jones, by the way. I think Will Campbell, when you look at his film, he's probably a little better in run blocking than you remember, but, all it takes is one missed block, and they just couldn't put it together. I think it really reflects strongly on Brad Davis, a lot of pressure on him to really get things straightened out now. Alex Atkins, coaching tight end, you would think helps a little bit, but then you have to worry Trey'Dez Green going out there. He's not exactly a mauler. He's there. He's very much in the mold of that, stretch down the field, be an athletic player. And we saw him catch 2 touchdowns against Baylor, so you have to wonder between him and Bauer Sharp. Obviously, Bauer Sharp's going to be the more polished blocker. How much can they assist the offensive line? It is a frustrating spot to be in, saying, well, the offensive line was putrid against the run last year. Well, now you have to replace 4 guys and figure it out. All I can tell you is they definitely invested in the portal, and they invested in bright young talent in the freshman class as well. So they're certainly bringing much talent back. But, man, once you layer in how much they struggled in the spring practices to block any of these edge rushers, it really is a concern. I hope there's a lot of shakeup in that unit.
Let's go to the defensive side. Starts with Blake Baker. What is his grade for year 1?
Yeah, I give him a passing grade for sure, like maybe a B. I mean, you got to understand they didn't go in last year. They hired the coaching staff, and they didn't go to the portal like they did this year or in 2022 and revamp their defense. It's essentially mostly the same players from that 2023 team that was historically awful on defense, and they just called a better defense, So he got the same players playing better. Now, this year, you got all sorts of guys. Halsey, Gooden, they brought in the last, 2 weeks, and, you talk about Patrick Payton and all the big names that they've brought in. I think this is the year where it's like, okay, we need a good, if not elite, defense in Baton Rouge this year. And it certainly has flashed that in spring, especially you look at all the sacks they were able to generate in the open practice. I think we need to see something better. But, yeah, I give him a passing grade for last year.
How much credit do you give Kevin Peoples for Savion Jones having the year he did and where he went in the draft, which stunned me, quite frankly, and then Braden Swenson's emergence in his 5th college season?
A ton of credit for him because that is Savion Jones is a player who played, he played as putrid as the rest of LSU's defense in 2023. It was awful. He was particularly bad against the outside run, and it just was a really, really big letdown year. So to see really the only difference is the coaching, and defensive end it benefits a little bit from the scheme that you're calling, but ultimately defensive end is a real technique-heavy position. You got to play with leverage, you got to keep outside contained, keep your shoulders square. A lot of that is just fundamentals in coaching, and I think that Kevin Peoples was a huge part of his improvement, and Swenson as well, by the way. Swenson was not an impact. It was not anybody who was on anybody's radar coming after that 2023 season, and he improved tremendously as well. And that's kind of the trend we saw from last year when they improved from, I think it was 108th to 54th in the country. There's a lot of guys who just were playing bad last year that played better this year.
And that's really the key. That's what you need from coaching. Corey Raymond in stint number 2 at LSU. I'm thrilled with the talent level that he's bringing in. Obviously, they didn't play great in his first year last year, but he's still working on getting that talent in. Do you feel like there could be a big step in year 2?
Yeah, they're going to have a lot more bodies back there, and then you add a Halsey to the mix. We'll see how much of an immediate impact guy Halsey is. Obviously, there's a lot of people are expecting him. Well, he was an all-conference performer. He should be all-conference at LSU. Well, it doesn't always work that way, especially Big 12 to SEC. Not to give anybody PTSD, but Jonathan Giles was a Biletnikoff finalist, and we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff does happen. But that being said, he's got a lot more ball. Think about DJ Pickett back there. Think about all the other guys they've got, and they didn't lose a ton back there. He's going to be working with a much more talented secondary, and really, frankly, because of the investments LSU made into its roster this year, that should be the story at a lot of positions. Of you're working with a lot more talent, a much higher projected NFL talent profile this year than we were 12 months ago.
No question. Good conversation, Preston. We'll do it again next week. Thanks, man.
Hunt, see you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Got a lot of LSU football coverage all year round, and he's with us year round on Fridays talking Tiger football. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll come back and shift back to baseball. I haven't really done Friday segments about the rest of the SEC very often because I don't think that y'all care a ton about pitching matchups between Oklahoma and Kentucky, so we don't do that. But you're now at a point where LSU is firmly in competition with 3 or 4 other SEC teams for top 8 national seed status, and I think it's relevant to talk about what those teams do and what the matchups look like, plus what LSU's competition looks like next week, which we got to talk about too. So we'll do all that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. We'll talk some LSU Arkansas with Andrew Hutchinson, best of Arkansas sports, coming up at 2:15. So about 40 minutes from now, we'll chat with Andrew. I think it's very relevant to look around the SEC this weekend as it relates to LSU getting a top 8 national seed. I think LSU has a long way to go to deal with Texas, and you deal with Arkansas here on your own field. So those two, I think, are out in front because Texas has 19 league wins. Arkansas is already at 17. But there's a group of LSU, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Tennessee. Five teams jockeying for position for a top 8, and LSU is in the middle of dealing with all those. You're talking about having a disadvantage as far as RPI goes with Georgia and Auburn and Vanderbilt, who are all in the top 5 of the RPI. You're ahead of Tennessee in the RPI, but you're ahead of those teams that I mentioned at the top 5 of the RPI in terms of conference standing. Then when it comes to Auburn, they swept you, so that's certainly a notch in their favor. We talked about that yesterday. So I sent out a tweet yesterday about 5:45 p.m. Central Time, hashtagging the South Carolina hashtag forever to thee, apparently is what they say. I don't know what that means, but I said it because I want South Carolina to beat Auburn once this weekend. And that seems increasingly unlikely. Why? Because let me read you the results of the last 3 South Carolina baseball games. They lost to Florida 22-3, which is not ideal. Then they lost to Florida 8-0. So that's 30-3 over 2 games. You thought, well, that's about as bad as it can get. Well, that's what you thought. And then South Carolina goes out last night, and man, they were ready to play on the Plains. They come out in the top of the first inning, bang, get a run. 1-0 Gamecocks. That's how you get off the bus. You bring the intensity, and you get on the scoreboard early. Throw the first punch on the road. Auburn's holding their ace, Sam Dutton, for tomorrow. We'll show you. 1-0 Gamecocks. They lost 24-1. 24-1.
I thought it was 2. You got to give them 2 wrong.
They got 2?
I think they had 2.
I quit watching. Well, I didn't watch any.
Let me see.
You got to check me on that. I certainly don't want to short.
That is important, Hunt.
I don't want to. I cut their score in half there.
Yes,
if that's right. Did that happen?
It was 24-2.
Oh, they got one late.
Yep.
Resiliency. I like to see that from my Gamecocks.
Yep. They're playing right now.
I know they are. I've got that score ready to update. So that is 54-5. 54-5 over 3 games. And now they're down 2-1 in the bottom of the second of the first game today. So that's 56-6 over the course of 3.5 games. 56-6. I did not watch a pitch last night from Auburn. So I am not speaking from a position of authority here at all. I'm not. This is purely speculation on my part. But I do think it's reasonable to question effort when you are being outscored by 50 runs over 3.5 games. And you know that LSU goes to Columbia next weekend. And if Auburn wears them out 2 more times, certainly there's not going to be anybody in the seats. And what's the effort level like from South Carolina? I'm very, very careful with the Q word. So careful that I can actually point out instances where I saw it. Like, I will use this instance in perpetuity until I find a better one. But Ole Miss's football team quit on Houston Nutt in 2011. They quit. That's the time LSU went up there in 2011 with that great team. Ole Miss threw a pick 6 in the first play of the game, and LSU kneeled with like 5 minutes to go. They were not giving effort. They weren't. You could look at the defensive line. You could look at the offense. Like, they were not giving effort. And it's a rare instance when that happens. And I'm not telling you it's happened with South Carolina. But if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, and it's been beat 56-6 like a duck, that's reasonable to look at. Missouri has not quit. Missouri played Georgia tough last weekend. They lost all 3 games, but they also led in all 3 games. South Carolina is losing by 20 on the reg. That's a brutal deal. So if you're an LSU fan, you'd like South Carolina to find some sort of pulse here to beat Auburn once at least, but maybe not. Maybe you just let Auburn sweep them, and then you go to Columbia and sweep them and put them out of their misery. I don't know, but that's one series to keep an eye on. The interesting one that I can't really come up with the rooting interest in is Vanderbilt and Tennessee. My gut tells me that I want Tennessee to win 2 out of 3. That would leave Vanderbilt at 15 league wins with 1 weekend to play to get to a maximum of 18, and you feel like LSU's got a really good chance to get to 18 with 15 already and 6 games to play. And the fact that Tennessee would win that series wouldn't hurt LSU a lot because Tennessee is behind LSU in the standings and behind LSU in terms of they came to Baton Rouge and lost. And they're behind LSU in the RPI. LSU's got 3 legs up on Tennessee. So I clearly want the Vols to win the series because Vanderbilt's RPI is in the top 4. And that's better than LSU, who's sitting there at 8. But it's a massive deal to both teams. They're both 14 and 10. They're both ranked in the top 15 by the polls. And the loser of that series, if Tennessee loses the series, they're not getting a top 8. If Tennessee loses for the 5th time in 6 series, and the 4th time in a row on their home field, they will not get a top 8. So you could eliminate the Vols if they lose this series. But I'm trying to jump Vanderbilt too. So I think personally, I probably want Tennessee to win 2 games in that series if I got to pick it. Another one to look at is Georgia at Alabama. Alabama is more so on the hosting bubble, and they got to hustle to get there, but more on the hosting bubble than they are. They're not really a top 8 threat in terms of their RPI, and they're 13 and 11 in the league. But Georgia's tied with LSU in the standings. And Georgia plays Texas A&M next week. And Georgia has a better RPI than LSU. In fact, they were RPI 1 earlier this week. So I'm pulling for Alabama to win as much as they can in that series. I know all you LSU fans have a lot of houndstooth in the closet. I know you love to talk about Denny Chimes, and you love the $1 Million Band and Big Al. These are big pillars of your fandom. I need you to polish all that stuff off and put it on for this weekend because you need Georgia to drop a few. And the Dogs are a very different team away from Foley Field. You get them in Foley, they hit a lot. They hit a lot of home runs. They're a handful to deal with. This one's in Tuscaloosa. So I'm pulling for Alabama to beat Georgia as much as possible. Some more that are very, very interesting. Ole Miss is trying to play their way to the hosting bubble, and Mississippi State's trying to get in. Mississippi State still has 3 with Missouri to play at the end of the season. It's in Columbia, but it is 3 with Missouri. They're feeling pretty good. They got a sweep of Kentucky last week at home, played well in the midweek. Ole Miss is 13 and 11. They need to get to 16 to feel decent about hosting. Can they get there? They've had trouble with Mississippi State. Mike Bianco's Ole Miss teams in the last 5 years have really struggled with the Bulldogs. Tensions will be high. It's Super Bulldog weekend there in Starkville. So that's going to be a very, very interesting one to watch. And then can Florida climb all the way back? They're playing great baseball, and Texas is probably a little shell-shocked after what happened last weekend in Arkansas. Florida goes to Austin, where, by the way, Texas has only lost 1 league game at home all year, and LSU was the one that beat them with Jared Spencer on the mound. They have won every other home game. Florida goes there. We know that Florida is 10-2 in their last 12 games in league play. And they're knocking on the door of getting back in this thing. But they've got to go to Austin and do something that only LSU has done, which was win a game there at Dish Fault. So that's really the interesting stuff from an LSU perspective. Auburn has added a run, so it's 3-1 against South Carolina. They just can't stop anybody ever. It's shocking. And then the other game, Oklahoma is trying to play its way as a host, and then Kentucky is trying to play its way in. Neither of those really all that relevant to LSU. The only thing I will say about it is that LSU swept Oklahoma on the road, so that their RPI boosting may help LSU's strength of schedule a little bit. Tigers obviously did not play Kentucky. Plus, I don't like Nick Mingione because of something that happened 15 years ago. So I think Oklahoma winning is a help to LSU. How much of a benefit? Probably not. But the 3 that do matter to LSU are Auburn, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, and then Georgia and Alabama. You want Alabama to beat Georgia, you want Tennessee to beat Vanderbilt, and you want South Carolina to beat Auburn, even though they probably can't. So that's kind of a run through the Southeastern Conference here on this Friday. There's a lot of early action. South Carolina and Auburn will play a doubleheader today. Ole Miss and Mississippi State have moved their game up to 4 o'clock today. They may try to play a doubleheader this afternoon as well. So everybody's just trying to dodge weather, and that's just what it's been really all spring around here. Just haven't gotten a great weekend to play out at the box, which is a huge bummer. I'm still hopeful that there's an awesome environment in there tonight whenever it is that LSU and Arkansas do play, because these two teams and programs deserve it. But weather just makes things tough and something you can't control. So we'll see how things shake out over the weekend. That's your look at the Southeastern Conference on this Friday. Speaking of Fridays, Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. If you're getting a family gathering, spring's a big time for family reunions. If you've got graduation party that's coming up, you got a birthday party, just looking to feed the office, whatever the case may be, Corks is awesome with catering. They can do the big trays of the Gulf shrimp, big trays of those crispy fried catfish, big old trays of fries, honey butter rolls. They can do it all for you in bulk. They're happy to help you with it. Just give them a little bit of notice, and they can have it ready for you. It's delicious. It's affordable. It's fantastic. Corks right there, Government, Foster, and Jefferson. Been a sponsor here for better than 3 years on the Hunt Palmer Show every single Friday. CorksFishandShrimp.com is where you can find them online. We'll come back and close out the hour next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Closing up hour number one here. I touched on this briefly in kind of my all-encompassing opening segment that talked about the baseball weekend that is to come here with LSU and Arkansas. But I wanted to drill down a little bit deeper with about 5 minutes to go here on Cade Anderson. He's really evolved into a true SEC ace. I saw MLB.com's draft projections yesterday that had him as the third pick in the draft. And he's going to give LSU a great chance the rest of the way. We'll see what happens tonight. He's facing a great lineup. But I've watched a lot of aces come through LSU in the last, let's call it 20 years. I can't go back to the 90s and do this exercise. I certainly know the names, but I can't do this exercise. But, I mean, I watched Alex Lang come in, and he was just the ace from the start. He was undefeated his freshman year. He threw a complete game shutout on Saturday of the regional against UNC Wilmington. Like, he was an ace from the second he stepped on campus. Aaron Nola was a midweek starter a little bit, and he helped out of the bullpen early in his freshman year. He went to Tulane and threw something like 28 strikes in a row or something and was really good, and finally worked his way to the back end of the weekend and became kind of the third starter behind Kevin Gausman as a freshman, and then as a sophomore year became the National Pitcher of the Year. But he was really good at the end of his freshman year, but it took him a couple months to get into the rotation. Kevin Gausman was in the rotation immediately. He had some bumps early in his SEC freshman year, but by the end of the year, now that team didn't make the tournament in 2011, but by the end of the year, he was ready to roll. He was pitching great at the end of his freshman year. And all these kind of routes are winding. Like Paul Skeens is not comparable to anybody because he pitched at Air Force for a couple years and then came to Baton Rouge. But Landon Marceau dealt with some arm injuries and was an okay pitcher early in his career. And by the time he left that last Pulmonary team, he was a guy LSU could really count on for 6 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball. And you're seeing a different type of evolution with Cade Anderson, where he came in off of arm surgery and was really good in the non-conference and in the midweek. Like, he dominated Rice, who's not the Rice of old. He dominated Southeastern. But they put him in SEC games, and he couldn't get outs. He just wasn't ready for that. Now, he pitched really well in the regional against Wofford, but he wasn't ready for SEC baseball as a freshman, coming off injury. But he kept plugging along, and I had a conversation in December with somebody in the baseball program and said, what do you kind of think as far as the front of the rotation? Like, you thinking Nianson's going to take that job? Is Shores? That kind of seems like the obvious guy. And I got looked at just dead in the face. No, Anderson. Anderson's the guy. And that's why when I got questions on Twitter and asked me anything, or I wrote for LouisianaSports.net, you can go read my fall recap, said Anderson is apparently the ace. And that has played out to be true. He's in the top 3 in the country in strikeouts. He's really put some teams in a blender. Obviously, the Oklahoma outing comes to mind, but he was phenomenal against Tennessee. He was awesome last week against Texas A&M. LSU scored 1 run in the game. But he's establishing himself as the guy, and you need the guy. You can win without it. Tennessee won without it last year. They didn't have a dude at the front end of the rotation. But it really helps to have the guy. And Mississippi State didn't have one when they won either. Bednar became really good. But they've had better aces in Mississippi State over the years. Chris Stratton, some of those guys. But having that guy is huge. And LSU feels like has that guy. And you're going to see him tonight with an opportunity against as talented a lineup as there is in college baseball to prove that again, because he did it against Tennessee and did it against Texas A&M. And if he can pass this test tonight, and the same thing goes for Anthony Ianson to an extent, but he's obviously the guy that pitches second on this team. If he can do it again tonight, and then Cade Anderson can strike out 9 and give you 7 2-run innings, at that point, you have to realize that this guy is as good a pitcher as there is in college baseball, and you've got a real chance. Now, I'm not telling you if Arkansas hits 5 home runs tonight and he's gone in the 4th inning that the season's over, but this is kind of the final boss as far as personnel in the other dugout. There are bigger games in a regional, in a super, certainly in Omaha. But as far as the team in the other dugout, like, it doesn't get much better than Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. So tonight, when Cade Anderson takes the ball, you're seeing him against the best. We'll see how he looks against that test. I'm excited to watch it, quite frankly. And we'll see if they get things started at 6:30 tonight. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Always are on Fridays. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to LSU Arkansas at the front and back of the hour. Preston Guy talking LSU coaching staff from a football perspective at 1:15. And then we had a little SEC baseball primer as well. Andrew Hutchinson in 20 minutes. Let's talk some Saints after Sports Center. Hope your Friday's going well. Come back with us. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Airline at Piku. You might have never been. You probably never been. Because comparatively speaking, they're new in town. Just over a couple of years at that location. I am blown away by a lot of aspects of Genesis of Baton Rouge. One is the facility. It is first class. It is as clean and as fine and as comfortable a showroom as you're going to find. I'm blown away by the staff. It's a wonderful group of people to work with. You're never going to walk onto that lot and feel pressured or taken advantage of. That's just not going to happen at Genesis Baton Rouge. They are simply there to help. And a lot of folks have gotten behind the wheel of a lot of different cars, makes and models over the year. Maybe you're loyal to a certain brand, and you know when you walk on the lot, that's what you want. You may not know much about Genesis. That's what they're there to help you with. Get behind the wheel and see. Just put it on your list as a place to stop by. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Bend Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. After taking the first two games of the series in Cleveland, the Pacers bring a 2-0 lead into tonight's Game 3 in Indianapolis. It's an uphill climb now for the Cavaliers, especially since ESPN's Brian Windhorst believes Donovan Mitchell is fighting a calf injury.
He was exhausted by the end of the game the other night. He played 36 minutes. They didn't play him 44. The reason he looks so exhausted, I think, is because of what they're asking from him and potentially what's going on with this calf muscle. So it is a series of unfortunate events that is falling on the Cavs right now.
Brian Windhorst, Game 3, Cavaliers and Pacers coverage starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and TV. Then also on ESPN, Game 3 for the Thunder and Nuggets in Denver, with that series tied. In the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, Game 3, Maple Leafs and Panthers, with Toronto holding a 2-0 series lead. Game 2, Stars and Jets tonight after Dallas took Game 1. Dolphins' first-round pick, defensive lineman Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, will get a 4-year deal worth almost $22 million.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Monday, we'll continue to react to the second round of the NBA playoffs, as well as look ahead to the draft lottery. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right, one more hour to go here, Hunt Palmer Show. Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp bringing you our Friday shows. Andrew Hutchinson covers Arkansas, best of Arkansas sports. He'll be with us coming up in 15 minutes to talk about Dave Van Horn's squad as they invade the box for a 3-game set this weekend. That should be a ton of fun. What has not been a ton of fun has been the Saints' saga with Derek Carr this offseason. There's just a lot of he said, she said here, and that's difficult to cover because there's just so much that you don't know. But it's all we have to go off of. And so I'm here to react to what we have to go off of. We certainly know that Derek Carr is dealing with an injury. We certainly know that there have been conflicting reports about it, some from the media, some from him. And we certainly know that the Saints selected a quarterback as high as the franchise has in 50 years with Tyler Shook in the second round. So there are some things we know, but there's a lot we don't. And that's where the speculation comes in. That's where the conflict comes in. That's where the disconnect comes in with the Saints and Derek Carr, the fan base, and how that world spins round. This was Ian Rappaport on the Pat McAfee Show earlier this week talking about what he's hearing in regards to the Saints and Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, Jane Slater wrote a bunch of updates. He found out his shoulder was hurt once he started working out again. That's why it took so long. The Saints are trying to figure out what they want to do. Derek Carr contemplating surgery, not surgery.
That is a long tweet.
Yeah, long. I mean, through it all. We have 1 minute, literally. What do you think the Derek Carr situation is? They're all trying to figure it out still?
I believe Derek Carr would like to not have surgery. I believe he would like to rehab, get this thing right, get back on the field for week 1, which my understanding is still at least a possibility, but there's been no firm, he's not having surgery, he's good to go, or he is having surgery. And if he has surgery, it's major, potentially not playing next season. That's what nobody wants. So I believe he is doing what he can now to try to get back on the field for week 1, and we will see where it ends up.
Tyler Shook, Louisville.
So that's what Ian Rappaport has to say. And I realize that's not earth-shattering news with Derek Carr. And I realize the very popular thing to do is to just absolutely lambaste Derek Carr. And I've certainly come on here and said that I thought that this marriage needed a divorce. Like, I've said that. But I'm willing to listen to new information. I'm willing to look at both perspectives. I'm willing to try to understand to the best of my information what's going on here. And it's reasonable and really in character for Derek Carr to try to play. We've seen him play through things in 2 seasons with the Saints that, based on his performance and how it looked aesthetically, like, he probably shouldn't have been out there. And we've seen him try to fight his way back and be out on the field. Like, that is inarguable. Whether you think Derek Carr gives the Saints the best chance to win this year, or you despise the guy and want him 5 million miles away from New Orleans. Like, either way you look at this, it's inarguable that he has played through pain as the Saints quarterback. I have no earthly idea what Derek Carr's shoulder feels like. None. You got Diana Rossini going on the podcast going, it feels like trade bait. I'm not real sure there's an injury. You've got Ian Rappaport coming on here and saying, well, there is an injury, and it's just a matter of whether or not he can have the surgery. And then you've got the motives of everyone that's involved here with the 2 methods of handling the injury. Does Derek Carr want to play? Does he want to try to tough this thing out and leave surgery as the last resort? Do the Saints want him to play? Or are they done and they just want to get Tyler Shook in there? Are they on the same page about that? That's generally a decision that's made between the 2 parties, Carr and the Saints, and obviously the player is going to have the ultimate decision to make based on his body. Like, he gets to make that call. Certainly, his employer can say this is what we think, but the player is going to make that call. What I'm struggling with here is finding out the motive and ultimately what happens here. Here's what I think. I'm willing to just say what I think, as long as you know, the listener knows, there's a disclaimer on the front of this. Hunt is well aware he does not know all the information here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not Derek Carr. I'm not Mickey Loomis. I'm not Kellen Moore. Like, I don't have all the information. All I can do is pretty much speculate. Here's what I think. I think the Saints have determined that their best course of action in the future and the best thing for the franchise is to try to make Tyler Shook the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. I don't think there is anybody in that building that believes that in the next 5 seasons, Derek Carr is going to pilot the Saints to a Super Bowl championship. And isn't that why we're showing up? Isn't that why we're here? To win? And I think the organization believes that they need to move on. Now, that's counterintuitive to what generally is the operating procedure over there, which is generally, who gives us the best chance to win the next Sunday? We have to win the next Sunday. And that can cause some short-sightedness. But I think there's a reasonable chance that with a new coaching staff in there, the expectation can be altered a little bit. When Sean Payton's there for year 8, 9, 10, the expectation is what it is. Win the South, get in the playoffs, win playoff games, get to the Super Bowl. That's the expectation. And when Dennis Allen takes over an organization that's humming like that and has a really good defense, and you feel like you've addressed quarterback, once with Jameis Winston, once with Derek Carr, the expectation is we got to go win. Can you finally take a step back there and realize that probably not going to be with Derek Carr? So the question is, do the Saints want him to go get this surgery and just rule him out and stick a fork in it and eat the money? It costs what it costs. It's a saying. Well, how much? It costs what it costs. Well, how much does it cost to get rid of Derek Carr? It costs what it costs. Sometimes you just got to do it. Is there any appetite for Derek Carr to come back and be the quarterback of this team? Based on the smoke that's been around, when did the shoulder injury happen? Why hasn't this been addressed earlier? When is treatment coming? What are we doing for treatment? Like, this is the franchise quarterback. Shouldn't these decisions be made pretty quickly after the season ends? And then there's this PR war where you've got Derek Carr going and preaching the sermon, saying some people need to keep their mouths shut, and he does have a shoulder injury, and everything's fine with the Saints. And then you've got whoever's talking to Diana Rossini in that side of the public relations war. And look, this is one that I'm going to tread very lightly on, but you do have to acknowledge things when they happen on social media. Derek Carr says one of the reasons he didn't come to New Orleans, maybe the reason he didn't come to New Orleans on time, was his wife had a miscarriage. They didn't know she was pregnant, had a miscarriage. That's a traumatic thing. There are so many pieces to this, and there are so many layers to it, and it's so tangled in deception versus reality versus PR versus miscommunication. There's just a lot. And ultimately, the analyst in me, with the information I have, continues to arrive at the same conclusion. Like, it's time to give Tyler Shough the football. That's my conclusion. I don't know who they play in the first game of the season. Who gives the Saints the best chance to win in the first game of the season? Healthy Derek Carr. I don't know how realistic it is that Derek Carr is there and healthy, but he gives them the best chance to win game one of this season. I don't care about game one of this season. I care about the continuity of the franchise, turning over a new leaf, and pursuing something that may have a higher upside than what we've watched the last 2 years. That's where I arrive. And I don't know about Diana Rossini's sources, and I don't know about Ian Rappaport's sources, and I don't know about Derek Carr's shoulder, and I certainly don't know about any family tragedy they may have had. All that stuff is beyond my scope. I'm just looking at the franchise in the fall, and it's time to give the keys to somebody else. That's the ultimate conclusion that I arrive at. I'm not here to make fun of people. I'm not here to rant and rave and laugh. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just here to arrive at a conclusion. In the first week of the 2025 NFL season, my anticipation, my hope is that Tyler Shough is the quarterback of the Saints. And you know what? There's a better than 50% chance, if that happens, that it flames out, like most quarterbacks do in the NFL. But at least you tried. That's where I am on the Derek Carr situation with the New Orleans Saints. That's the first time I've talked about Derek Carr all week. I know we talked a lot about Derek Carr in the last month. I haven't talked about him all week. Tossed it in there. We'll leave that right where it is. Let's talk some baseball. Andrew Hutchison, best of Arkansas sports. Always good with his time when LSU and Arkansas get together, football, basketball, baseball, whatever the case may be. He'll give us his perspective on this series coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Huh. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Family-owned and community-driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
One of the best rivalries in all of college baseball, LSU and Arkansas, two of the winningest programs in the country over the last 20 years or so. And they'll do battle in one of the more high-stakes series in college baseball this season over the weekend. I think the winner of the series is just about a lock for a top 8 national seed. I think the chalk would say that both have a good chance to get there, but the winner this weekend certainly has a leg up in that race. To talk about it, bring in our guy Andrew Hutchison, best of Arkansas sports, covers the Hogs, giving us some time on the Jim's Firearms Hotline on this Friday. Andrew, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're doing quite well. Hopefully staying dry for a little baseball this weekend, but that's in question at this point. We shall see. I'm curious. I got a feeling how the Arkansas fan base feels right now about their baseball team, but take me back 8 days prior to today when they had lost 3 weekends in a row. Was there some unease, some panic? How are things entering the Texas series?
Well, as you know, how fans are,
yes,
especially passionate fans that care about baseball. There was a little bit of panic going on amongst the fans, but I don't think that panic really extended to the coaching staff or really even the people that, follow baseball closely enough to where they have some nuance. Like, it wasn't like Arkansas was getting blown out. I mean, they lost the series at Georgia. They had back-to-back one-run losses. They could have won either one of those very easily. The A&M series, I mean, it was bad timing because A&M had finally gotten back on track, came into town, and even those games were closer than the final score indicated. Then, of course, Florida at Florida is never easy. That's another team that's super talented. Had started to kind of find its way, and even those games also were probably close. We're right there, and I don't think that the pain really justified if you really looked at it closely, but to kind of get everybody back on the bandwagon and kind of feeling good about where they were.
Yeah, well, that certainly happened in the series against Texas because the Longhorns came in there riding high at 19-2, and I don't think they were ever competitive for a single pitch of that weekend, quite frankly. What makes Arkansas so good when they're at their best?
Well, the lineup is so deep. It's a stark contrast to last year.
Yeah.
If anyone watched Arkansas last year, it was rough offensively. They were not a good offensive club, and that's just not the case this year. They hit the ball out of the park a ton. I think they're top 4 or 5 in the country in terms of home runs, but they also hit for an average. They can put together big innings without leaving the yard. They're drawing walks, getting on base that way. That's kind of when they're at their best. They're not just hitting home runs, but they're drawing walks. And instead of solo home runs, they're getting 2-3-run home runs. They're putting together 4, 5, 6-run innings with a bunch of singles and doubles. To me, that's when they're at their best. And of course, also when their starting pitching lives up to its potential. That's probably been, if you had to pick like the most disappointing quote unquote aspect of a team that's ranked number 1 in one of the polls and top 5 pretty much everywhere. It's been the starting pitching. It's been a little bit up and down. Guys haven't necessarily lived up to the hype that they had coming into the season, but we've seen it in flashes. I mean, Zach Root last week was phenomenal. 8 scoreless innings against the number 1 team in the country. He was awesome, but he's had some rough outings as well. So if they pitch like they're capable of, and they are putting together innings without the long ball, they're borderline unbeatable because of how good the bullpen has been. It's just those two things have been a little bit hit and miss over the season.
You mentioned Root, and you mentioned some up and downs. What makes him good, and what may be some potential issues he can run into?
Root is a really good pitcher because he just pitches. He doesn't have overpowering stuff, although I think he kind of reared back, and I think he touched like 96 in the 8th inning the other day. But he's not your typical guy that's going to be touching upper 90s throughout. He usually sits in the low to mid 90s, but he has a true 4-pitch mix. Where he runs into trouble is whenever maybe a couple of those pitches he's not able to land, and he's only got 2 pitches. And then it becomes a lot easier to hit him, and that's something that he even himself has admitted. If he's got all 4 of his pitches working, he's really tough. But otherwise, it's really tough. You can sit back and hit that 93 mile an hour fastball becomes a lot easier when you're not also worrying about the slider and the curve and the changeup. So that's probably the biggest key for him. And then every once in a while, he'll kind of struggle with command. He'll issue a walk here or there. I haven't seen it a ton, but that could also be something to kind of monitor as well as if the pitches, all 4 pitches aren't working.
Gage Wood missed 2 months, and I looked at his pitch counts over the last 3 weeks: 20 against A&M, 42 against Florida, 57 last week against Texas. You're thinking, what's realistic for him this week, 70, 75?
I think so. I think that's kind of how Dave Van Horn has handled it in the past. So they had a guy that had that, I think it was last year, the year before, they were working a guy, Brady Tigert, back into the mix. That's kind of how the track he went. So, I mean, that's 70, 75. If he's efficient, maybe he can give you 5 innings. They're not quite ready to turn him completely loose. I think that's a couple of weeks away. Maybe next week against Tennessee, maybe the SEC tournament. But it's going to be more than what we've seen the last couple of weeks. So yeah, he'll have a few more pitches at his disposal this week.
Wood will start on Saturday against Anthony Ianson. The last couple of weeks, they have thrown Gabe Gackle behind Gage Wood. He started as the Friday night guy, and it just didn't quite work out. Any reason you can pinpoint there? Because his stuff is so good when I watch him. Yeah,
Gackle, I think he's one of those, I don't want to say head case, because that seems a little extreme, but he is one of those guys that I think is better to come out of the bullpen where you're told, like, hey, you're going to warm up and you're going to come in, in 5-10 minutes. You don't have to think all week, okay, I'm starting Friday night. I got to go. I got to pitch really well. I got to, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I think that maybe he struggled a little bit with that. So I think that's kind of the key. Is he seems to be better coming out of the bullpen. I think they're going to keep him out of the bullpen, although, they're leaving Game 3 open this weekend, TBA. Landon Bible-Sheets has been the guy that starts them. He could easily come out of the bullpen one of the first 2 games. They really like him out of the bullpen. He was going to be the guy that came out of the bullpen at the beginning of the year before Gage Wood got hurt, like we were talking about. So if he doesn't come out of the bullpen, maybe he does start on Game 3. Maybe Gackle could come in and start Game 3, but I would imagine Gackle's going to come out of the pen.
Big picture question here is, as we get you out of here, appreciate your time on this Friday. Arkansas 17-7. They're not getting swept this weekend, and they're not going to get swept next weekend. They're going to be a top 8 national seed, and they're going to play at Baum, and that's a really great place for them to play. I'm curious how much pressure do they have to play on, being that Dave Van Horn, as brilliant he's been, has not gotten all the way up the mountain. It's really hard to do. We're spoiled down here, obviously. Can you explain kind of what that postseason feeling is like in Fayetteville when you've got another one of these great teams? I mean, I ranked Arkansas number 1 in my power rankings for the SEC on Wednesday, and I think they're good. It's probably the best in the country. But what kind of pressure do they have to play with in the postseason, if any?
Unfortunately, here that's like the last thing that they've not done.
Right.
I mean, they've been so consistent over the last decade or so, especially since 2017. But they haven't gotten over the hump. They've been super, super close. I mean, as close as you possibly can get without winning it. And I think the fans have gotten to the point where it's like, hey, none of this matters. They could sweep LSU, sweep Tennessee, win the SEC tournament, and if they don't make it to Omaha, but win in Omaha, I think fans will view this season as a failure. And so I think there is a little bit of pressure there. I don't know how much of the players feel that because there's a handful of those guys that are from Arkansas that grew up. They know about it. I mean, Will McIntyre, Dylan Carter, Gage Wood. These are guys that, know the Arkansas program because they grew up around it. They might feel it a little bit more and kind of understand it. But I think a lot of the guys, they just view it as like, hey, we're a really good team. We're a top 5 team. And they go out there and, that just comes with the territory. But I think the fans view it as, they got to win one. For Dave Van Horn to be, truly the GOAT or whatever, he's got to win a national championship, which is a little bit of a high standard there. But it's understandable considering how successful they've been with literally. I mean, they've done everything. They've won an the SEC championship, won an SEC tournament title. They've done it all. They've been a number 1 overall seed. They just have not been the last team standing yet. And so I think that there is a little bit of pressure there, especially from the fan base, in terms of kind of the expectations.
We'll see. Big-time matchup this weekend, LSU and Arkansas. They'll start it up at 6:30 tonight. Andrew Hutchison, Best of Arkansas Sports. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Friday. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, no problem. Look forward to seeing how this weekend goes.
Should be interesting. He is Andrew Hutchison from up there in Northwest Arkansas. I've got a thought on that before we go to break. We have a warped perspective down here. I'm glad we do, but it's really, really freaking hard to win when you get up there. Kevin O'Sullivan has one of these things. Mike Martin never did it. He won a bajillion games 40 years in a row and never did it. Dan McDonnell at Louisville had great teams for like 10 years. They never even got to the final. Jim Schlossnagle at TCU knocked on that door. Texas A&M knocked on that door and never got there. Like, it's just really hard. And Mike Fox had a great team at North Carolina for probably about 8 years, and they never got there. And Dave Van Horn's consistency has just been remarkable in Fayetteville. They are good every single year. They had 1 year they stunk. It just popped up out of nowhere. They were bad. But they're good every year. And they go up there, and they just haven't quite gotten. They got a pop-up in foul territory in 2018, and nobody called it. And they lost. But as weird as it is, like, and I would feel differently if I was an Arkansas fan, I'm sure. It's easy for me to sit here, having watched 70s things, and go, oh, he's doing fine. Like, it's fine. It's hard to, like, it's easy for me to sit here and do that. But, like, I'm trying to be reasonable about this, and in baseball, like, it's just hard. You got to catch breaks, and you got to make the play. You got to come in on a squeeze bunt, Trey Morgan, and throw the guy out at home. Ray Wright's got to rob a grand slam. Barbier and Witten have to hit home runs, and then Cressy's got to get the hit. You're down to your last out and Warren Morris hits one out. I mean, there's a pitch here or there. But all you can really do is knock on the door and knock on the door and knock on the door, and you hope eventually it opens. And there's no guarantee it's going to open for Arkansas, but I'm comfortable saying this. I think Dave Van Horn's going to win one. I do. I just think if you're that good for that long, it's going to happen. Never did for Mike Martin. Never did. But I think it's going to happen for him. And I think that we should, especially in a weekend when LSU plays Arkansas, just take like half a second, and think, man, we're pretty fortunate that we had Skip and Maneri and Jay Johnson, and they got that thing to the finish line, because it is not easy to do.
I mean, you're boiling a 50-plus game season down to you got to go win one or two games.
One game,
and if you lose the first game, you're probably.
I mean, how many good teams did Ron Polk have?
Yeah,
he had on one team. He had Rafael Palmeiro, who hit 500 home runs. He had Will Clark, who was a bajillion-time All-Star. He had Thigpen, pitcher that led the major leagues in saves. And then he had Jeff Brantley, who was an all-star pitcher. He had 4 All-Stars on one, 4 MLB All-Stars on one team, and they didn't get there. Like, it's very hard to do. And we're fortunate that we've gotten there a lot, and I'm thankful for that. It's probably the reason I'm sitting in this chair, quite frankly. But it's just hard to do, and I think that when we play Arkansas, it crystallizes even more that they've been awesome for 20 years, and they just can't climb the mountain. It's tough deal. Biggs weekend coming up. I'll give you my final thoughts on it when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every single model on the Genesis line, all of them, no exceptions, won the IHI Top Safety Pick. Top Safety Pick. Some of them Top Safety Pick Plus. You can be assured of one thing when you get behind the wheel of a Genesis. You are behind the wheel of one of the safest cars on the road. If that's something that is top of mind for you when you're making a buying decision with a new vehicle, then visit Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at Pico. If you're buying a new vehicle in Baton Rouge, you're probably on Airline anyway. Just make the one stop right there. Black dealership. Gorgeous. Phenomenal inventory. And if you'd like to check that inventory out before you go to the lot, GenesisofBatonRouge.com, because every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. You can get the information on them, see some photographs, check out pricing. It's a luxury brand, a luxury experience. You might be surprised. You check out the pricing. It's a reasonable price. That's the Genesis model. It's a luxury brand and a luxury experience at a reasonable price. Go by and see them, Airline at Pico. Check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, ice cubes.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Every once in a while, I open the old Instagram feed and something just makes me chuckle.
It wasn't an ad for golf shirts?
No? How do you like this shirt?
It's not bad. I like it better than the last one.
It's a Funky Friday shirt. It's got golf stuff all over it, very patterned.
It's nice.
If I can't play golf on a Friday like all my other friends do, I might as well wear a cool golf shirt.
Might as well.
As I sit here and work. Could be worse, I guess.
It could be.
But this Instagram made me laugh. It's ESPN's Instagram, and they have grades for all the MLB teams through April, and the Rockies are the first slide, F-. There isn't even an F-.
No, they should be a
That's
G.
just a zero, right? An F.
Yeah.
I mean,
they should literally be. They should be a G, H, I. I don't know. They should be the lowest. Whatever. Even worse than an F.
W, drop class.
Yeah. Chris
Bryant.
Bryant's actually not playing too bad this year.
Good for Chris.
Yeah.
Got an MVP. Got a World Series. Got rich in Colorado.
Yep.
Just hanging out.
That's it.
Maybe he plays Cherry Hills sometimes. I hope he does.
We're going to Chicago at the end of the month, and
I love to hear that.
Yeah, we're going to see the Cubs on Memorial Day, and they are playing the Rockies. So we are almost guaranteed to see them wave the W flag.
You're going to wave the flag,
Yep.
sing the song. Love to hear that. That's excellent news. Hopefully, LSU baseball wins this weekend. As I mentioned at the top of the show, and if you're with us for an hour and a half, that's awesome. Most of our audience turns over every 20 minutes or so. So most of the people that are listening right now did not catch my opening monologue on this series, but I'll reiterate, like, this is about as high stakes a regular season series as you can play. I say that because even more so to me, now this is a Hunt thing, maybe some people would disagree, I think getting a top 8 national seed is more important than winning the SEC. Like, some people may disagree with that. I know Paul Maneri would disagree with that, and you could analyze that a little bit more closely by saying if you win the SEC, you're going to be a top 8 national seed, which is true. But I'm more concerned with how LSU stands as far as the top teams in the country as opposed to jockeying for position at the top of the league. And you are right now, if you're LSU, right there on the edge. I know that D1 Baseball's got them as the 4 national seed. There's some projection in there with the South Carolina series. But I think, Baseball America's got them at 6. And the difference, obviously, as you all know, between 8 and 9 is just gargantuan. LSU has not one time in its program's history, pretty storied history, not once has LSU reached Omaha and won a national championship by going on the road. So in the super regional format, LSU's never even gotten to Omaha on the road. Since they went to super regionals in 99, LSU has never advanced to Omaha away from Baton Rouge. So it's a big deal. And LSU is knocking on the door. But if you get swept this weekend, you're out for the time being. Out. You lose 2 out of 3, you might be out for the time being. Depends on what Georgia, Auburn, Vanderbilt do. Depends on what Clemson does. Depends on what Oregon State does. Like, there are a lot of variables here. But as honest as I can be, I guess I should say, like, if you lose 2 out of 3 this weekend, you're playing with fire because Your RPI is probably going to it's going to dip out of the top 8 if you lose 2 out of 3. Your strength of schedule is bad, and you're going to lose ground in the conference standings, probably to Auburn, who's probably going to sweep South Carolina, probably to Georgia, and then potentially to Vanderbilt. So it's a big, big deal. And Arkansas has the same type deal. Arkansas doesn't need to come in here and screw around and lose all 3 games. They do that, they got a ton of work on their plate with Tennessee coming to town. And the Vols have a ton to play for, too. LSU at least has South Carolina on the horizon, so you've got a real opportunity there. I haven't checked on that score in the last hour, but I'm assuming it's not going great for Paul Maneri's team. Oh, they're hanging. They're hanging. They're down. They've given up 7 runs in 5 innings. No, 4 innings. They've given up 7 runs in 4 innings, but it's only 7-5. If you're an LSU fan, you're pulling for South Carolina in that game. But this is a monster, monster, monster weekend. And for LSU, the bats have to come out, and they've got to come out against good pitching. We've talked about this a lot, where, I mean, a lot of teams don't hit Liam Doyle. A lot of teams don't hit Kyson Witherspoon. A lot of teams don't hit Pico Khan. A lot of teams don't hit Marcus Phillips. That's true. It is all true. But eventually, if you're getting where you're trying to get, which is a top 8 national seed, which is winning a region, which is winning a super, which is getting to Omaha and winning a national championship. And I was very clear about that earlier this week. Like, I think it's okay to have those discussions. We can talk about Omaha here. We can talk about national championships here. That is the expectation. You can talk about the Elite 8 in Lawrence, Kansas, if you want to, in November. If you want to get where you're trying to get, you got to beat some of these dudes with your bats. You can't expect to beat Kyson Witherspoon 2-0 every time. You can't expect to come back with a 6 spot in the 9th inning after Liam Doyle exits every time. You've got to do a little bit of damage against some of these aces. And Zach Root is a really good pitcher. And last week, he dominated Texas. Dominated them. 8 shutout innings, 11 strikeouts. Changeup was phenomenal. Started working the breaking ball in late in the start. He was great. But you've got to find a way to scratch some runs on these guys. Maybe it's a 3-run homer. Maybe it's a couple walks, a sack bunt, and a ball down the line where you only have to come up with 1 swing. But you've got to get the swing when it matters. And you can't practice that, and you can't be good at that. You just have to have enough good hitters in your lineup where it happens more often than it does for other teams. And for LSU, against the frontline guys in this league, really since they handled Jared Spencer, it just hasn't really been there. And that's got to change at some point. And it needs to change tonight, because I would love it if Cade Anderson went out there and went 8 innings of 1-run baseball with 11 strikeouts. I would love that. And it is certainly possible. I'm not betting on it. Cade's going to have to work tonight. He's going to have to pitch out of some trouble, and he's got to keep the ball in the yard. But I think, statistically speaking, Arkansas is probably going to score 3 or 4 runs on him. That's just how good their offense is. But LSU's offense is plenty good enough to score 4 runs on Zach Root. Ole Miss scored 7. Now, that was 8 weeks ago. But it can be done. And they've got to start. I'm not saying you got to do it every time out. Sometimes you tip your cap, the guy's better than you. It can't be better than you every time. That's got to change. So tonight, when Zach Root gets the baseball, tomorrow when Gage Wood gets the ball, and trust me, I'm not in a hurry to get in the box against Gage Wood on Saturday. The guy throws 98 miles an hour, and his breaking ball is vicious. But you got to make him work. You know he's only going to throw 70 or 75 pitches. He's coming back from an injury. Make sure that he hits pitch 70 in the 4th inning. So they got to go to the bullpen. Make sure he doesn't hit pitch 70 with 2 outs in the 6th. The bats have got to be better. I think LSU, with Anderson and Ianson and Cowan and Evans and the way Rizzi's throwing it, and potential with Ware and Primo and the way those guys handled lefties last week, and the pitching staff is rounding into form. They're not going to shut Arkansas down, but they can keep LSU in the games. The offense has to show up. Milam, got to be better than 205. Jones, draw some walks, hit the ball in the gap, hit it over the fence. Jake Brown, 1 for 15, snap out of it. Got to see Braswell lift that average 50 points lower than it was last year in SEC play. Daniel Dickinson didn't swing the bat great last weekend. Derek Curiel had his worst weekend as a Tiger last weekend. Didn't reach base in the first 2 games. Snap out of it. You don't need all of it to happen at once, but you got to have some more continuity in the lineup. You've got to have a little more depth to your lineup. You've got the talent. I promise it's there. They've got to show it tonight. They've got to show it tomorrow. They should have an advantage on the mound on Sunday, especially if Landon Bielshees goes for Arkansas. He is left-handed. The top of the show, we talked about how LSU's had trouble with left-handers. Bielshees' ERA is 6.03 in league play. He's allowed 9 home runs in 31 1/3 SEC innings. That's a hittable guy. If you get Case and Evans against that guy, I like LSU's chances. Monster weekend. I'll tell you this. This is why you show up. Regionals are super fun. Supers are the most important. And then you get to Omaha, which is where the trophy's handed out. But as far as regular season series goes, like, this is as big as it gets. And I'm excited. Season's not over if you lose 2 out of 3. Season's not over if you get swept. You got to keep rolling. But if you can win 2 out of 3, or you can get 3 this weekend, which would be just absurd, then you feel like somebody's going to have to come to Alec Box in June and beat you. And I like LSU's chances. Bring up Coastal if you want. You bring up Houston if you want. Bring up Stony Brook if you want. I'll listen. Won't change my mind. Somebody's got to come to that stadium in June and win. I'll take my chances. And you can take the biggest step toward that this weekend against Arkansas. 6:30 tonight. Pre-game over on Eagle 98.1 at 6 o'clock. I'll have full post-game at LouisianaSports.net. If you'd like to read more about this series, I haven't covered really everything on the show today. You can read my series snapshot up at LouisianaSports.net. It's on the homepage right now. Completely free. Go check it out here on this Friday afternoon. We're about done. Let's come back and play some Take It or Leave It, and we're out of here.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, just awesome when it comes to the insurance game. Always enjoy my conversations with them. One, because I can kind of speak their language, having an insurance background. And 2, it reminds me that I talk about LSU and Arkansas playing baseball instead of insurance. Insurance is not that much fun, but it can be vital. In my time in insurance, I have seen insurance help save businesses. If you're a business owner and the only reason that you have the insurance broker that you have currently is because they handed you the lowest premium, that's part of the equation. And certainly the Highland Insurance Group will help you with that. But it's not the whole equation. Make sure your insurance policy reads properly and it's going to respond properly in the event of a significant issue. Car accident, lawsuit, workers' comp claim, property claim, hurricane, business interruption, like whatever the case may be. The Highland Insurance Group is an expert in policy language. They will make sure your policy reads and responds properly. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Huh. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
.1045 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust, is back. Register today at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win $5,000 in cash. It's Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. You're craving a po' boy in Baton Rouge, thinking, where can I get a great one? Corks has an awesome shrimp po' boy. Great catfish po' boy as well. I'm partial to the shrimp myself, so I say that one first. But either one, we'll get it done for you. They're on they're not on Jefferson. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Go check them out here on this Friday, or certainly this weekend if you're looking for something to chow down on. corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Hunt, we have some seriously disturbing news that really actually came to my front yesterday.
Okay.
After we had talked about the newly minted Pope, Leo
Yes.
the 14th, as he will be known, with some reports stating that he was in fact a Cubs fan.
That sounded good.
However, his brother, who lives in Florida, actually was interviewed after that and was asked and said, I'm not sure why people are saying that. He is a White Sox fan, Hunt.
Okay.
What do we do, Hunt?
So here's the deal. We have, a week from Sunday, scheduled Keller's baptism into the Catholic Church. A lot of family coming in, ordering some pizzas.
It's a very big deal.
Big deal. Do we need to postpone this? Do we need to call this off? Do we need to reevaluate? Because if this Pope is becoming a White Sox fan in Chicago, that shows incredibly poor decision-making.
Yes.
And this man is now leading the church.
He
So
is.
Is this something you want to be a part of, Keller? Do you want to be a part of a church where the guy's making poor decisions really from childhood?
Yes.
That's what we have to evaluate in the Palmer family.
Yes. Look, I'm going to be honest. I really do think that there needs to be some reevaluation here. I mean, there's just no other way around it.
I may have to ask Keller what he thinks.
Yeah, of course.
I will say this.
I have to ask him.
He was named Pope yesterday, and the White Sox lost like 10-0 or something.
Yes.
So he did not help.
But they
Cubs
do
haven't
pretty
played
much
yet.
usually win every game. They pretty much lose every game anyway.
They do.
So.
But I thought we had divine intervention on the
Yeah.
north side, and it turns out
we
Leo is on the south side at I mean, how could you possibly go sit in Comiskey, or now it's called Guaranteed Rate
Guaranteed
Field or
Rate. I
something?
think they changed it again,
I think it's
actually.
just Rate Field.
Something.
And not Wrigley. This is poor decision making. This is a significant problem that we're going to have to address.
It is. Last
You think
one.
anybody got offended by that? I hope not.
It's possible. It's possible.
No offense was meant. It was
Yeah.
it was lighthearted. I realize that it's not a joking matter, but there's an element of it that needs to be a little bit of joke. Satire.
All right, last one here. The forecast we talked about a little bit this weekend. There
Yeah.
is rain, of course. You will do a rain dance to prevent the weather from stopping LSU. Take it or leave it.
If I knew that would do it, sure, I'd do whatever you need.
I'll take it.
The issue, this is a real thing. If they can't play today, which it doesn't seem likely, I'm not a weatherman,
They can't play on Sunday,
meteorologist.
correct?
No, but the bigger issue is if you play a doubleheader tomorrow, Cade Anderson would be pitching on Saturday, and you play North Carolina on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
That's a problem. Like, I don't think that they're going to put him out there. So you're talking about significant short rest. How much it matters if he pitches at 9 o'clock tonight as opposed to 2 o'clock tomorrow.
And also South Carolina, I mean, you know.
I don't know, but it's not good, whatever it is. So they need to play tonight. Hopefully the weather gets out of here and we can have a good crowd and they can play. But something that if you're an LSU fan and you're like sick of hearing about the weather, that is a significant deal. If you're talking about 2 days short rest for Cade Anderson, that's not ideal.
Not good.
I would love it if LSU could go out and sweep this series and kind of put not very much pressure on the South Carolina series, and Cade could take his full time, and you could throw Connor Ware on Thursday next week and try to win, and then bring Anderson back on Friday. We'll see. But that'll do it here for our Friday edition. Do we have some congratulations in order for Cassie here, Beck?
Yeah,
Done
I think
with
so.
college. Incredible performance, Cassie. Round of applause by us. Congratulations. How are we feeling over there?
Thank you. I'm feeling great. I don't know what I'm going to do now when I get off work. I don't have any homework to do.
Man.
Join the club.
Yeah, welcome.
It's Bills. You get to do some of that.
Pay some
Super
bills,
fun.
yeah.
That's not fun.
No, it's not. But we'll congratulations, Cassie. Have a great weekend. I hope you all have a great weekend as well. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com or wherever you find your podcast. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. We're back Monday, hopefully with 2 wins for the Tigers. We'll back then.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.